Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Today we are gonna learn about coding in JavaScript. My target audience is somewhere between beginner to intermediate level. So let's get started. First of all, why JavaScript? I would say JavaScript because it's easy to learn. It requires minimal setup to run the code. It is cool nowadays. And also it has many popular frameworks such as Angular, React, Vue, and even old Swiss Army knife, jQuery. So even if you do not have a code editor, you can still run JavaScript in browser, right? All you have to do is let me minimize these things, and you go to your favorite browser. Mine is Chrome. You go to the Chrome and you right click and you say inspect, or alternatively, you can just go to the settings, and here you can say more tools and you can go for the developer tools, and that is also going to bring this page. And in here you have to go to the console tab, and voila, this is the screen, or this is the console where you can run the JavaScript. So before we jump into the coding part, here's a brief history of JavaScript, which I think every new JavaScript coder should know about. JavaScript was introduced in 1995 as a way to add programs to web pages in Netscape Navigator. So basically it was there to make the HTML more interactive and catchy. JS was ridiculously liberal in what it allows, and thus the idea behind was to make it beginner friendly. Since then, JavaScript has grown a lot. Today, JavaScript is not only on the client side, that is in the browsers, but also on the server side. That means you can be a full stack developer by just learning one language. Yes, JavaScript. Gone are the days when you had to master so many languages for front end, back end, and even database programming. So, further ado, let's start learning JavaScript. Okay, so I prefer to write code in a code editor because it's easy to manage the code, and I prefer Visual Studio Code, which is free to download from Microsoft website. But it's okay if you like a Notepad++ or Sublime Text or any text editor. In fact, you can write the code in simple Notepad, and that will work too. So to download the Visual Studio Code, I suggest you go to your web page, to the Google search, and search for Visual Studio Code. You will get the first result in Google, and click on the download. So if you're using a Windows, you can just click on this one and follow the on-screen instruction to install, and it's pretty easy. It'll take hardly 1 minute to install. If you're on Mac or on Linux, you can check the appropriate installer and can install the Visual Studio Code. But if you are doing it with some other text editor, I'm fine too. Okay, so let's do one thing. What we'll do is we'll go to our coding environment, and let me maximize this one. And here we are going to write our first code of JavaScript. So I'm going to create a new file, which I'll say test.html, and here I'm going to put the boilerplate code of HTML. So here, after the title, inside the head part, you can see here I can add a script tag, and the script tag is the place where you can put your all JavaScript. So for the time being, what we are gonna do is we are going to specify what script we are going to write. So I'll say type is equals to text slash JavaScript. So this is nothing but we are telling the browser that we'll be running the JavaScript in the browser. So JavaScript, so the browser understands that it needs to run JavaScript code. So the JavaScript code is next, and it will interpret as going forward. So what we'll do is, like, for a pretty simple example, we're going to do, we're just going to say document dot write, and we are going to write a statement here which we will see in the browser. So this is a dummy statement, right? And we'll save it, and let's open this one in the browser and see how this looks, right? So whatever we wrote here is now visible here. It's now visible here, right? So as I go and I copy paste this statement a couple more times, right? And I'm just going to, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to add 1, 2, and 3, and let me add some spaces so that it looks better, right? And just save it, right? And we'll go to the document, and you can see this is a dummy statement 1, 2, 3. So this looks good. So you see, this is so easy to write JavaScript, but what if I want to write certain comments that I don't want anyone else to delete this part, which I have written. So for that, in the JavaScript, you can write comments. So there are two types of comments. One is single line comments, which starts with 2 forward slashes. And whatever you're going to write here, let's say I'm going to write, let's not delete the below code, right? And if I save this one, and if we try to view it again, you'd see nothing renders. Our comment is just plain line comment. But if I go into the developer tools and if I try to look into the source, right, I can see my comment in there. So the comment is a way to put some annotation in the code, but you don't want the end user to see that. So that's how you can put the comments. What about if my comments are like a bit longer? Let's say my comments are like 5 paragraphs long. What would happen to the comment then? So what I can do in that case, or let's say just a small one, it's a big 5-line comment. So I cannot just go ahead and keep 2 forward slashes on every line. So what I can do is, like, I can do a forward slash followed by a star, and then a forward star followed by a forward slash, and whatever I'm going to write in between this part, right, will be treated as multi-line comment. So let's say if we are just putting this comment, which is just some gibberish. So if we say enter, and the next line, and the next line, and the next line, next line. So here you can say I have written like 6 comments, and I can keep writing some more gibberish, right? And as I hit enter, everything is treated as comment because they are between these 2, starting comment and the ending comment. So this is how you write the multi-line statements, comments in a JavaScript. So that's it for today, and I'll be coming up with variable and the variable types in the next video.